I've never seen a wellbeing conference that's so still. What's going on, people? Come on, it's time to get moving. Can I see a raise of hands of the people in this room who truly, truly believe that a wellness program will provide business benefits? So raise your right hand. Great stuff. Can I see in this room, raise your left hand if you think that a good wellbeing strategy circulates the workforce and allows people to kind of flow through, younger people coming in, older people, you know, going off and doing their own kind of thing. Can you put your other hand up? Okay, interesting. Oh, there we are. This guy at Oracle is literally the most used presentation opener. I don't know why. He's got a nice smile. What can I say? First of all, I have to apologise. I used the word strategy. I flicked off there really quickly because if you see, I actually used the word visionary, which actually makes it look even more pompous. So apologies for that. Just to give an overview of Oracle, if anybody doesn't know who Oracle are, we are a technology giant. We're US-based. We are leaders in cloud technology. We provide HR software. So if you guys are not using Oracle, you're doing it wrong. Come see me afterwards. We've got 420,000 customers in 145 countries. We make a lot of money. We've got 130 employees worldwide. Now, my responsibility is UK, Ireland, and Israel, and the wellness program I'm talking about today is based in the UK. So UK is the biggest subsidiary outside of the US. We are typical demographics, unfortunately, in the tech sector, so we're very, very male-dominated. What sometimes surprises people is that our average age is actually 46, so well-being in the workplace is really important for us. We have an ageing population, and I got wrong for saying this at the Employee Benefits Live conference once, but it's the truth, and I can say this because I'm in this age range. Once you get over 40, things start, you know, kind of going slightly south. Am I wrong? It's like you've got a brand new, pristine car fleet, right? Once they get over a certain age, their bumper's going to fall off at some point, which is why you need MOTs, and people are exactly the same. And 19% of our population are home workers, and I don't know whether or not, you know, people in the audience have the same kind of trends as us, but home working causes stress. That's the bottom line. The social exclusion, they're sitting, you know, they're supposed to be sitting in their home offices. They're all ergonomically created for the perfect posture. What they're actually doing is sitting on the sofa watching Jeremy Kyle whilst, you know, kind of tapping away on their phones, and they've got their laptop here. So that's something else that, you know, we've had a big focus on. I've got another apology to make. I have a budget, but I stole it. So I think that makes me like Robin Hood. So I think I'm kind of okay with this. So Oracle grew up we've been in the UK for about 30 years. And when we were small, we had a sports and social club. And I think that's something that's quite, you know, popular historically in the UK. When I joined in 2012, I saw that the sports and social club had a budget, but it was very much focused on our headquarters in Reading. And we're actually a nationwide organisation. So they had this really quite nice little budget that was serving about 12 people who went on a ski trip once a year. And I thought that's probably not a good use of that money. So I sort of dissolved that and created the Wellbeing Programme instead. And the strategic aims are to increase productivity. We've heard this already this morning, and I don't think anybody's in disagreement with it. Looking at early intervention, I'm a big fan of early intervention, preventative interventions, so that people don't end up in a situation where you're having to manage their illness. You're actually proactively managing their wellness. Employee engagement and brand, you could have picked this out of a CIPD book, recruit and retain the best talent. But I think what's interesting about this piece is the multi-generational workforce. So this is something that we focus on a lot, is the diversity piece. We want to be seen as an organisation that you can come to no matter what you are, you know, kind of categorised as, if you like. Are you a millennial? Are you a Generation X? You know, are you a baby boomer that's, you know, still kind of hanging around? And also future-proofing. So again, we were talking about, I heard somebody talk earlier about the fact that people are living longer. So retirement isn't what it used to be. It's not a case that if you reach 65, you get a golden clock and you're off. And, you know, the financial pressures now for people approaching sort of end of career is, can I actually afford to retire? Am I going to run out of money before I die? And I've got lots and lots of different options. It's complicated. What can I do? So we want to try to provide a wellbeing program that predicts a little bit what those future risks might be, educates employees about it, and also aids that healthy workforce circulation. And I do get wrong again. I don't know whether or not I have this vision in my head of somebody who hasn't planned very well, and we haven't taken care of that for them, and they're like 90 years old and they're talking about, you know, transforming to the cloud. It just, I don't know, there's something that feels a bit weird about that, but maybe I'm wrong. So in terms of the program, it needs to be nationwide. Everybody's got to be able to get involved, so whether you're in the office, whether you're at home, whether you're on the road, a salesperson, that's really important for us. And it does need to be data-driven, because I think we do need to measure it, because I think we owe that to our companies to show that we are actually providing some business benefits. And I mean, Oracle, it depends obviously on, I guess, the culture of the organisation. Oracle is very sales-focused, so it kind of matters if we get bang for our buck in this kind of situation. So when we defined the program, we took it to the leadership team, and they didn't say no, but they kind of sat there with like this glaze of like, oh, go on then, whatever, see what happens. But when we actually defined it to them, for us, this is not occupational health. This is not medical stuff. Well-being is actually not reactive. It's very much proactive. So it's very much based around changing behaviours now that will stop future risk of developing, you know, these conditions, if you like. It's about understanding our workforce, and it's about pulling data together from providers, for example, so that we can actually target the interventions that are going to make the biggest difference to the business. And I really can't stress enough the use of data. So we've talked about absence reporting. Again, I have to apologise. I'm a big fan of actually measuring the impact of this kind of stuff. So when we first started the wellbeing programme, it was very much focused on mental health, because that was obviously one of our biggest cost areas, I guess, from a business perspective. So we've done lots of things. We've done stress workshops. We've done mindfulness. This is the new thing, mindfulness, about being in the moment, about just, you know, you're running along at 100 miles an hour and actually stop. Think. I do this in the bath. Most of these ideas came to me while I was actually in the bath being mindful. So it kind of works, believe me. But what we decided to do is actually take a baseline in terms of a data point, which was the cost of mental health related absence in the workplace. And Oracle doesn't actually mandate sickness reporting, so this is just what we know. This is the tip of the iceberg. There could be a lot of stuff underneath that we're not able to report on. And then 2 years later, when we'd done all of the mindfulness workshops, the sleep workshops, the stress workshops for managers, all of that kind of stuff, we took another recording and we found that we actually made over $1 million saving. I get what people say about ROI, but I took that figure back to the glazed look of the board and I got a spontaneous round of applause. So in my mind, that's kind of success. And what that means is that they will continue to invest in this stuff. So sometimes you just have to be a little bit Machiavellian, find out what pushes their buttons, and then make sure that you can deliver some information that makes them sit up and take notice. The other thing that we do, and I think, you know, it goes back to the point about, well, with limited budgets, what can you do? I think you need to prioritise. I think you need to understand your population. You need to understand what's actually causing the biggest problems in your workforce, and there's no better people to get that from than your providers, so your benefit providers. And we developed the Wellbeing Partner Forum, we call it, where we get all of our health-related providers. So we've got our group income protection, life assurance, although by the time you need life assurance, the wellbeing program probably doesn't apply anymore. we've got our private medical insurers, we've got our health screening people all coming together. And it was so funny, the first time they got together, they literally sat at the table like this, as if anyone was going to copy their homework, because they're kind of competition, right? So they're a little bit worried about, oh, you know, what if we accidentally, you know, leak some intellectual property and, you know, all of a sudden I get fired. But the way I kind of introduce this to them is, I want you guys to tell me what my concerns are from a workforce perspective, so that I can focus my well-being program and actually get something back out of it, instead of saying, what's that company doing? What's that company doing? What's that company doing? Those companies are not your company. That is not, I mean, yeah, we're all people, but they might have very, very different demographics, and that means that your well-being program might focus on very, very different things. So I got them all in a room. It works brilliantly. So once they kind of chill out and relax, let's just say, right, at the end of the year, we've got our final quarterly meeting, and we're all going out for Christmas drinks. So that's great, because that's good for their well-being as well. But the other things that have come out of that is that the wellbeing partners, the health partners, are actually finding ways to collaborate with each other to help us. So things like being able to refer somebody directly without having to come back to the employer to say, oh, I'm not sure about this, you know, I think you might need to then signpost it. So it kind of makes life easier for us. And I just want to point you to Swift. This is so cool. The other thing that we want to make sure is that if your employees have a wellbeing wobble at work, you don't just whack it over to occupational health, because that's kind of what we did. So everything gets medicalised. Am I allowed to use a dead dog analogy? I don't know if I'm going to get away with this, but why not? Okay, perfect example. Your dog dies, okay? It's sad. It's sad, and you're upset. Perfect example of what we used to do, whack it over to occupational health. All of a sudden, you've been regressed back to a 6-year-old, and your mother's told you can't have a lollipop, and that's where all of this stuff comes from. No, it's not. You're sad. It's natural. You don't probably need CBT, you probably just need to talk to somebody, maybe a bereavement counsellor, to help you get through this. It's about appropriateness and relevance. Using the Wellbeing Partner Forum, we've actually identified specific pathways where a manager can call up and say, look, I've got somebody in my team, I'm a little bit concerned, this is the issue, what can we do? And they have a list of all of the providers that we have. We've got EAP. It might be appropriate for them to go to their GP. It might be appropriate for them to talk to their private medical. So the idea is that you're actually doing things for a reason, because you've got the data behind it to tell you what to do. And then we also use actual employee data. We have benefit roadshows every November to go around the country and kind of talk about our benefits. So my brilliant wellbeing manager, Claire, came up with a fantastic idea that why don't we get one of those scales things that takes your blood pressure and measures your body fat and all that kind of stuff, and get people kind of, sort of like self-assessing. And I'll just give you, this is kind of what we got out of this. This literally takes like 5 minutes for employees, so they get to know their numbers. People love numbers because then they've got something that they can measure and assess. This is the information that we got back, and this is the kind of stuff that you can say, right, okay, so where's the big issue? We've got a lot of overweight people, so we should be looking at, physical activity. We should be looking at nutrition. 7% drink higher than the recommended weekly allowance, so we've got a lot of liars as well. So I'm not entirely sure what we do with that, actually. But you kind of see, and what I would say from this, doing these health checks on the spot, there and then, face to face, we actually had several people who were an instant GP referral. They were walking heart attacks. And if nothing, if we've kind of saved them a little bit, then that's great. So this is the kind of stuff that we've been doing. And then finally, just to wrap it up, just to show that we do think about financial well-being, because financial well-being or financial stress leads to mental stress, and the government can't stop tinkering with stuff. So what you thought you knew 5 years ago is completely irrelevant. We've put together a financial wellness program that starts off, it is kind of tertiary, I think. So we wanted to start off with getting people to know what they don't know, It started off as a focus group where I very cheekily said to people, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you've just landed from Mars, and 10 is you can run the Bank of England. How financially savvy are you? And most people are really honest, and they say about 3 or 4. And we've got some clever people, and they're completely out of control. So we created a financial education program that basically raises awareness and scares the pants off people. So you think you've built a pension nest egg, wait till you have to pay for your care home. You've got no chance. And it's little snapshots. We don't segment the workforce. Okay, we don't say, right, you're 40, so you need to know this. We give little tiny snapshots of lots of different topics in the first session, so then people can elect to go on more deep dive workshops that are relevant to them. Really good example, estate planning. Most people would say that's for slightly older people or for the rich and wealthy. We had like 25-year-olds coming along to it, and the guy who was running the workshop said, I hope you don't mind me asking, but why are you here? And he said, I've got a student loan and and parents with a big house. Believe me, I'm making sure that I know what they need to know. Because they, it's true, isn't it? It's not just about, those people with big yachts and stuff. So following on from the learning, we obviously promote all of the government stuff. That's available online. And then there are some things that people can decide to do from there. When we try to reduce the gap between learning something and actually doing something about it, because the longer the gap, the more likely you are to not do anything. So we've got will writing services. That was another scary presentation as well, telling people what happens if you die without a will. People have just got no idea. And also a financial concierge service, just to signpost people in the right direction. And if they want financial advice, they can choose to take that out of their pension fund now. So yeah. So it's like 3-pronged. It's mental health, it's physical health, it's financial health. It's all under the same banner. We have a brand. It's called Your Wellbeing, Your Choice, because ultimately it's exactly that. It's about encouraging behaviour. We're not in nanny state. I'm sorry, we do have a free Fruit Wednesday, but people love it, so that's kind of cool. It works for us. And the kind of benefits, people talk about this all the time. People, that something's embedded in the culture when it becomes part of the day-to-day conversation. I'm really proud of it. I think we've got a lot of work to do, especially with caring. I think that's going to be the next big topic for wellbeing. So that's something that we'll be looking at next. So thank you very much. It's nice to be able to stand up and talk about all of the stuff that we've done. And any questions? How does this work? Oh.
Hello? Oh, thanks. I'm sorry I didn't catch your job title. Are you someone that just specifically looks after wellness for your workforce?
No, I'm responsible for compensation and benefits for the UK. So the wellbeing programme sits under my remit because I think it's got a real link to making sure that the benefits that you provide to people are actually become relevant to them. So if you can link the wellbeing messages to the benefits that you provide to your employees, it actually becomes part of a bigger thing. So, if you're talking about early intervention and, knowing your numbers, and then you've got a health screening program, you can kind of link the two together. But yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm also responsible for the cost of life assurance and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of important to me from that perspective as well.
Sorry, I had another question. How much time would you say is taken up by the wellness part of your role?
I have a brilliant wellbeing manager who is actually full-time. She's sitting over there. And yeah, so she is a full-time resource on this. It's that important to us. Yeah, I think, I think somebody mentioned before, if you have it as tagged onto your role, 20% of your role, you're not really giving it the full attention it deserves. All good?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.